today it is August 26th, and we're just putting the date out there so we know what day it is. But we want to give a little update on things. If you're not familiar with our story, go ahead and check out our previous video. It is a little bit longer. We're going to do a quick recap, but then we're going to fill you in on just some things that have happened since and just kind of what's been on our heart to share based off on our journey.
That was so well said. Thank you. Okay. So, quick recap. For 5 years, we had struggled with increasing health problems, health issues, tests, doctors, more tests, more doctors, finally landed on chronic Lyme disease as the main reason for the issues. Co-infections, babesia, heavy metal, toxicity, other things. Had basically gotten to the point where we were dealing with a debilitating health crisis. For me, a solid 50% of the month, I would be either in bed or trying to get myself out of bed. So it had a heavy impact in our day-to-day lives, in how I could parent, how I could husband, how I could work. And we were just building to this pressure point of starting new medical treatment from a doctor in New York. And then we came up, so we'll start in April of this year, 2024. We got on an airplane to go to Seattle for a family trip. Allie was concerned that it was going to yield negative effects.
Because of our previous flight earlier in March to go see his doctor, and it was the first time we had gotten on a flight in
a couple years,
and yeah. It was truly a traumatic experience. So very hesitant to go on this trip.
Yes. I had been reading a book that our counselor Mark had recommended to me that just kind of cracked open this new perspective for myself. So I was praying and believing that the Lord's would bestow upon us a healthy, less impactful flight up there. So that's what I was praying and believing for. And we get on this airplane. I take some drugs to fall asleep.
Prescribed
yes.
drugs.
Very good. Prescribed from my doctor, a concentrated dose of Valium to try to knock me out so that I wasn't cognitive during the flight, so that it wouldn't be as painful. Instead, what happened was I passed out for about 30 minutes, woke up, and all pain was gone. Leg pain was gone. I had been struggling and dealing with intense, consistent nerve pain, neuropathy in my legs. Had significant damage in my vertebrae, and the effect of the disease was causing a deterioration of my discs, which was part of the symptoms of one of the co-infections. So just a lot of damage in my back. Flying was very painful, but basically woke up and had no symptoms, just like that.
And this was April 16th.
Yes, Tuesday, April 16th. We landed in Seattle, and our previous video, that is the lengthy one that gives kind of the backstory, kind of talks you through that time and window. So where we want to pick up is when we returned. So we were in Seattle in this weird euphoria. I thought I was in a coma because I could not believe that all of the pain and symptoms were gone. And we had a great family time, flew home. And then the reality of what happened and what occurred set in. And there were good and bad points in that we just kind of want to update everyone on. So I had an MRI right before I left. Did not get those results until we returned.
Or the MRI was when we got back.
I had an MRI right when we got back, and then we're waiting for the results. So sorry, it was supposed to be before we left, and we couldn't make it happen. So I had an MRI right when we got back, and the results came in a week, 8 days later. So I want to I'll put these up on the screen so that you guys can just review. But we had significant improvement that was unexplainable from our back doctor. My previous test, and I'll put the results up there. You'll be able to see just the amount of issues that are documented here, but almost every one of my vertebrae had disc bulging or herniation or loss of height. Just a lot of damage happening, and this is specifically in my lumbar, lower back. Then I got an MRI and got the results of that, and when I went into the doctor, she legitimately thought someone was playing a joke on her. They asked me every time I walk in, what's your pain level, 1 to 10? And I said it's 0. And they thought I was joking or trying to be funny.
Because the pain management doctor.
Yes. So she walked in, looks at my chart and says, tell me what happened, because I had to double check with the other doctor to see if someone was playing a joke on me. These don't look like the same backs. So I'll put the results up from the recent MRI, and you'll be able to see that that the majority of stuff are back to normal, that the height in my disc loss is restored, that I do still have minor, like the doctor said, like a pin dot type bulging of this in the very lower lumbar of my vertebrae. But she said that's normal wear and tear for my age. She said that she has 20-year-olds in her office all the time that have worse backs than I do, and they don't play sports. It's just from sitting at a desk all day. So she looked at me and said, we have nothing else to treat here. We don't need to see you anymore. So praise God. That was positive. Walked out of there with confirmation that I had asked her and kind of played devil's advocate. I said, is there anything that could have occurred from my last appointment, which I had maybe 30 days, 3 weeks before that MRI results came in? I said, is there anything I could have done or gone to any clinic, any type of treatment that could have exhibited this types of results in this period of time? And she confirmed there's not anything in their toolkit currently that would result in these types of improvements in my back with treatment over an extended period of time. She said she's like, backs don't normally get better like this. So we took that as confirmation. Kind of what I told Allie was, I feel like the Lord just wants picture proof, or wants to provide picture proof. So we're now, because of that, I stayed on my treatment, my prescriptions for another 6 weeks, 8 weeks. We didn't feel at complete peace to just sever those, had another doctor's appointment, kept them in, and then finally felt at peace and started the phasing off process, the weaning off process. And that went fine. No effect or continuation of symptom or bringing back of symptoms. When we came off of that, I'm off all my antidepressants, all my sleep meds, all of my Lyme treatment, and back running, back able to pick my kids up. And for the last 4 months, we have lived life.
Traveled again, gotten on a plane again.
Yeah, I took our girls on a family vacation that they had been praying for years, over family dinner. That's one of the things that they prayed for, and just it has been such an amazing experience. But I do want to talk about a couple of things, because it's so funny. Like 3 weeks after we got back, we're living this kind of new life of again, euphoria, just so out of body almost. But I had lunch with a friend, and he sat down and said, hey, I need to talk to you about something. about 2 months ago, he knew I was sick and dealing with health problems. He said, about 2 months ago, I sat down, was struggling with just some questions and some searching that he was doing, and kind of conversating with God. And he sat down and one night was frustrated and prayed a prayer to God and said, Lord, if you're real, then heal Isaac. And not entirely sure. There's no explanation of that other than God in that moment, because he himself has a child that is sick and has health issues, and for whatever reason he felt compelled to pray that prayer, and I was the one that was the challenge. And so we sat down at lunch 3 weeks after this miraculous moment on an airplane in April and said, hey, I asked God that if he was real, that he would heal you. I had no idea he prayed that prayer. So then we're sitting down and just having this crazy kind of, again, another out-of-body experience. So such intricate purpose in what God has done through this. In the midst of that, I also just want to reference one of the things that the book that Mark, our counselor, had recommended. It had mentioned, and I'd read this shortly after we had returned, but it says, your symptoms may point you to death, but God's word points you to life, and you cannot look in these opposite directions at the same time. And without a doubt, prior to everything that had happened, we were living a life focused on symptoms, even though God was heavily a part of that equation. The thing that seemed to drive our life and decisions were symptoms, and that's probably hard not to occur. But we realized, and it was proven true, that the second we started keeping our focus primarily on God and not on the symptoms first, God was able to work and move. So I want to give Allie an opportunity to talk about some of the things. Like we want to respect everyone's time and kind of keep this short compared to the other video, but I want to give her an opportunity because she went through a process post the healing that I think is important.
I'll keep it short, but if there's any dialogue or anything further that anyone wants to talk about, we'll give contact information at the end, and I'm happy to share more. But just real briefly, over this season of time, it became very evident in our life that when Isaac was down, someone obviously has to still pick up, the slack, and we still have 2 little kids, and life still has to go on. And what had happened over that period of time is I can only relate it to like fight or flight, and part of my fight was kind of just suppressing anything that I might have been feeling or struggling with. And there was moments throughout the journey that wasn't the case, and I did feel and process and struggle. But in order to survive day-to-day life, there wasn't space to feel or process or grieve or with Isaac's health and regular life, and then just with things that are going on in my life as we have 2 little kids. So one of the things that we've walked through after Isaac's healing is kind of this breaking of a dam is all, like, we think about that, and then Isaac relates it to like a pressure valve, and I was able to hold it together because it was necessary to hold it together. And I do feel like there was some of God's grace in that. It wasn't just me shoving things down. I feel like there was just grace over that. But now what has happened is there is space, and it creates these little moments of bubble over of that pressure and that water that's been held back by the dam for so long. And it does not come out at good times. And it's convenient times. And so we're now in this season of kind of walking through kind of my own healing, and in a different way.
Yeah.
And we're learning to navigate how to walk in our marriage and life together and carry each other's burdens versus before where it was more as it needed to be, a little lopsided. And so for anybody who has dealt with being a caretaker, I want to encourage you to work through your emotions as you can and set aside time, even if it's 5 minutes every day. I didn't do this. These are things that were counseled to me and I didn't do, and now I'm working through it with our counselor. But give yourself space, even if it's just 5 minutes with the Lord, because on the other end, there still will be a process that has to occur for you as the caretaker. And caretaker, either one. There's so much gratitude for Isaac's healing. And so I always want to make sure that, like, the Lord knows how thankful I am for that. And there are times that it feels that I'm not, because I'm struggling, but what we've processed through and realized is there's just a release of pressure that is occurring. And there are times that it happens real quick and it's not great, and then we have to back up, and then there are moments and things that we're doing now that are allowing it to happen slowly. So we are through it, and we're in it at the same time. Yeah. So it is a process and a journey that the Lord is not finished with yet, but we are trusting that He's not in a hurry, and it will all happen in His time.
Yeah. And out of all of this, I think it's been evident to Allie and I that we want to minister and be available to people that are dealing with or struggling with sickness. I know that there are a lot of that in the world everywhere. And so we have a phone number that I'll put up on the screen. It's 940-240-8868. We have set that up just for these types of communications. So if you know someone that is sick, if you yourself are sick or dealing with health problems, if you are caring for someone that is sick, if you have a relative or a friend or whatever that is, I truly believe what we went through obviously was to teach us a lot and for God to mold and move and make things more clear for His purpose. But I also think we feel just such a yearning to being able to comfort others that are also going through similar circumstances. And I know sickness has varying degrees, but at the common denominator, it stinks, and it can
isolating.
It's painful. It's all of those things. But without a doubt, the Lord wants to move and heal and work, and we just want to be available. So use that number, text. We would love to have coffee, lunch, something, a call, whatever that is. And then I'm going to finish with reading. So this verse spoke to me as I was reading this book that Mark had recommended. And again, we're gonna end with this. It's 2 Corinthians 4:7-10. And I'm reading out of the New Living Translation. It says, "We now have this light shining in our hearts, but we ourselves are like fragile clay jars containing this great treasure. This makes it clear that our great power is from God, not from ourselves. We are pressed on every side by troubles. We are not crushed, but we are not crushed. We are perplexed, but not driven to despair. We are hunted down, but never abandoned by God. We get knocked down, but we are not destroyed. Through suffering, our bodies continue to share in the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be seen in our bodies." So we love you guys. We're so glad. Thank you for listening. Again, the previous video will be linked, and we are working on a couple of other videos that just go into a little bit more detail of post the miracle and some of the things that God has just been working on in our hearts. But we love you.
One day they will be under 10 minutes.
True. One day.